right, welcome back, everybody. We are back on the platforms right here. My name is Ozzy Simoes, and one more live ready for you talking about small businesses. And once again, I just want to introduce myself, Ozzy Simoes, the author of the Small Business Destruction Guide. I'm actually going through some of the topics in the book and discussing and sharing these with you so that as you see the topic of the heading, the title of these videos, if you're watching them recorded, you can see that the topic or the heading is why businesses fail. This is live number 4, video number 4, recording number 4. I'm on a bunch of platforms. And hey, what do you guys think about this cool watch? Huh? Sweet. This is the one I was telling you about yesterday. That's my favorite. Okay. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and see yesterday's live, number 3, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's a very cool watch. I've been wearing it pretty much all day. Guys, we are here talking about small businesses, why small businesses fail, and that's what the Small Business Destruction Guide is actually all about. But the topic I want to talk about today is pretty much getting involved with a business that you know absolutely nothing about. Yes, there are people that actually do that. I tell of a story in the book. But today, and I was really kind of contemplating today whether I'm going to tell this story or not, but it's my own story. Now, I know only old people really watch me on these videos, right? Only old people. So all you young people have never made mistakes like I did when I was a young folk, kind of like you. And the story I'm going to tell you about, I don't even know if my parents know about this story. Very, very few people, definitely never shared it publicly. If my brother or my sisters know about it, it's maybe because I slipped it out. But one of the first businesses I wanted to get involved with, I was already pretty much had a couple of businesses, my designing business and then my clock business, which I had already started. But the business that I kind of wanted to get into that I knew absolutely nothing about, but I was convinced by a couple of guys who I was working part-time at night in a restaurant. And this is in South Africa, in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I pretty much, a couple of the guys that worked in the kitchen from a different country, Mozambique to be specific, convinced me that they were great DJs and that in Mozambique was this great need. There were no mobile discos. There was no discos because the war had kind of destroyed everything. And if you don't know about what I'm talking about, go back and research the history of Mozambique. And this, I'm talking now in the mid-1980s, mid to late 1980s, mid-1980s that I'm talking about. And yes, I was convinced by these two, what I now call scoundrels, who convinced me over a number of months to pretty much put in a large amount of money, a very large amount of money to invest. I bought all the equipment, records up to yin yang. In fact, if I remember correctly, I bought out a guy who was pretty much upgrading his systems back in the 80s, was all, vinyls. And he was upgrading his systems. And I got all of that, his equipment for at the time, I thought it was a good price, but it all ended up going to nowhere. But these two guys then leave the restaurant job, go back to their country, because they were from their country, from Mozambique, and took all the equipment that I had spent fortunes on. Nobody in my family knew about it. I actually stored that at a friend's house so that my family never knew about it. If my parents are going to watch this, my mom normally kind of keeps up to date on these videos. I think she watches a couple of them here and there. Well, Mom, sorry. I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but this is the story. And I'm sharing it with everybody here because it was a big, big blunder. I was young. I was in my late teens. wasn't even 20 years old yet. And yes, I invested a ton of money into a business that literally was just evaporated. These guys eventually went to Mozambique, like I said, took all my money and all the equipment that I had bought for them. And eventually I would keep up with them by phone. And eventually, and if you know, and if you're from that time in the 80s, it's not like you can pick up your phone now and, smartphone and you call on WhatsApp, or, you're texting and you're sharing information on Facebook or whatever. Calling back in those days was expensive. And I can't even remember how I communicated with these guys. Obviously, one call a month, whatever. But I wanted to see how my investment was doing. Folks, eventually, I actually planned a trip to Mozambique without the knowledge of my parents or anybody knowing. I flew out there. I had a whole week booked to see how my wonderful business was being taken care of, and my partners. And I literally could not stay there longer than 24. I think within 48 hours, I was back on a plane, went to Durban, spent the rest of the week in Durban so that my parents didn't even find out. I initially told them I was going to Durban. So I flew into Johannesburg, flew right out of Johannesburg into Durban, spent the rest of the week on the beach there, and then flew back home. Nobody ever knew about my whole business venture. Folks, I have never made that mistake again. But getting into a business that you know absolutely nothing about, and especially in those terms, is just, it's comical, it's ridiculous, it hurt me, but I still actually see people getting into businesses without having any knowledge or understanding of that business. Again, I can refer back to my own business, my current business, that is my main source of income and business. Okay. And back in 2008, I also knew nothing about that industry, but I spent months researching, studying before I put down a penny, to the point that by the time I did invest, I was very knowledgeable about that industry and where it was going. And again, I just finished today doing the formatting and the final edit on the book that is actually a bestseller. Okay, and I'm going to have a copy of that here probably within the next week or two once Amazon mails it to me. But by tonight, that'll be finalized and ordered on Kindle, on Amazon, KDP. And that industry, I actually dominate now with the information that I have accumulated over the years, okay, and especially over the past 12 years. I don't know of anybody else that really dominates that information like I do, because of the amount of research and studying that I've done, and also the amount of clientele that I've served, and that has helped me to really grow in wisdom and knowledge on within that industry. Okay, so if you're going to get involved with a business, make sure at least you know as much as possible as you can about the business. And like I've told you in the past couple of lives, all of these little topics I'm hitting on, they're all kind of interwoven, interrelated, but people still make these mistakes. Don't make that mistake. Get involved. If you're going to start a business and invest any type of money, even if it's $500, definitely research that, because if you want to give away $500, I'll give you my bank account number, make the deposit. I'll give you my Venmo account. Venmo me the $500, I'll keep it. Okay. But if you value your money, don't get involved with a business that you know nothing about. Folks, I will see you on tomorrow's live, God willing. And don't forget, go. It's yours for the taking, because if you don't, somebody else is going to come and take it from you. It's all yours, and it's all out there just for you. Adios. See you next time, amigos.